Washington state's governor just signed a 9.9% tax on household income over $1 million. The legislation makes some sweeping promises to residents. By capturing a fraction of high-earner wealth, the state plans to provide free meals for K-12 students, eliminate the sales tax on baby diapers, send direct checks to working families, and enact significant tax breaks for small businesses. Washington isn't acting alone. This law serves as a direct template for wealth tax proposals now advancing through state houses in Michigan, Virginia, and Rhode Island. But opponents of these measures always point to the same roadblock. If you tax the rich, they will simply pack up and move to a lower tax state. Lawmakers have debated this threat for years, but looking at the actual data, we have to ask if a millionaire exodus is a real economic danger or just an effective political talking point. Sociologists at Cornell University spent years tracking high-earner migration using hard federal tax records, and their findings contradict the narrative of millionaire flight. This chart breaks down the movement of taxpayers. It shows that millionaires actually cross state lines at a lower rate, just 2.4%, than the 2.9% migration rate of the general public. Only a tiny fraction of a percent moves specifically to seek lower taxes. The reason is incredibly practical. Wealth at that level is deeply place-specific. A high net worth is usually tied to established local businesses, physical assets, and highly concentrated professional networks that you can't just put in a moving van. You can see this exact dynamic playing out right now in Massachusetts. In 2022, Massachusetts passed a 4% income surtax on millionaires. Opponents predicted an immediate loss of wealthy residents. Instead, the state recorded its largest population increase in 60 years, and the tax pulled in nearly $3 billion in year 2, more than double initial projections. The data tells us economic flight won't stop these policies. The actual threat to taxing the rich is a legal trap that triggered within hours of Washington's governor signing the bill. States have been acting as policy laboratories, testing different ways to capture revenue from high earners, and the results have been highly mixed. Los Angeles tried a transfer tax on property sales over $5 million, often called a mansion tax. Following its passage, high-value property sales froze, dropping by roughly 50%, and actual revenues came in at half of what the city projected. California lawmakers pushed even further, proposing a 5% tax directly on the net worth of billionaires. Before the initiative could even reach voters, a handful of billionaires preemptively left the state to beat the proposed residency cutoff date, taking an estimated $27 billion in potential revenue with them. Because property transfer and net worth taxes proved volatile, Washington opted for a much simpler, straightforward tax on household income. But that specific choice walked them right into a fatal legal vulnerability. Immediately after the law was signed, the Citizen Action Defense Fund filed a lawsuit, fast-tracking a battle headed straight for the Washington State Supreme Court. A 1933 state Supreme Court ruling legally classified income as property. The state constitution dictates all property must be taxed at a flat, uniform rate. Charging millionaires 9.9% while lower earners pay nothing directly violates this uniform property tax requirement. The legal attacks are compounding, too. The state Republican Party is launching a separate challenge targeting a necessity clause written into the bill, which lawmakers use to shield the legislation from being overturned by a voter referendum. This millionaire tax is now colliding with a 90-year-old legal definition that makes the entire policy illegal under the current state constitution. There's a critical detail hidden in the Washington law. The state won't actually collect a single dollar from this tax until the year 2029. Because of that massive built-in delay, the entire state Supreme Court battle will be fought and finished long before any money changes hands. This delay removes the immediate financial risk for Washington, transforming the lawsuit into a high-stakes spectator sport for lawmakers in Rhode Island, Michigan, and Maryland. With zero revenue currently on the line, the Washington courtroom is operating as a national stress test for wealth taxation. The state Supreme Court faces a binary choice. First, the justices could decide to uphold the 1933 precedent. If that happens, opponents of wealth taxes across the country will be handed a tested, constitutional blueprint for killing similar legislation in their own states. Alternatively, the court could finally decide to overturn the 1933 ruling. Shattering that 90-year legal barrier would effectively greenlight a massive influx of state-level income taxes on the ultra-wealthy coast to coast.
The legal viability of taxing America's wealthiest residents currently depends on a single court's interpretation of a 1933 definition of the word property.